Hi, welcome back to another episode of Stag Studios. I'm Jonah, and with me I've got two people here who can introduce themselves.
I'm SK.
And I'm Christy.
And I should have thought more about this as I was leading it, but
It's all good.
today, just talking a lot about mental health and talking about generally being neurodivergent and the experience of that in uni. I just wanted to start it off with an easier one. How are we all doing today?
Very well. Very tired. I missed my second group project today,
Oof.
which is going very well.
Yeah.
Out of the 4 sessions, I've missed 2. So,
yeah, this is an interesting time. I've been, what's the word? Yeah, it's been interesting for me. I've been struggling to sleep a lot more because my thoughts are racing and things like that. And it's and yeah, it's been interesting trying to manage that, knowing that this podcast is coming up as well, and being
Yeah, SK's 2 a.m. group chat messages have been in full swing lately.
getting too kind of in your own head about too self-analytical in terms of the stuff that's happening. I completely get that. I think we can probably start with one. I could start with one of the ones that we were talking about earlier. I think we can. I think moving on from how we are today, I'd say how would you say your mental health is now, and how would you say it has been kind of throughout your life, but specifically how has it been through school?
Okay.
Because I know that we talked about that one with your teacher off mic.
Yeah.
Which we can get into if you want, but we don't have to.
I think it's fine. I don't know. I don't want to go first. I don't want to leave you out of this as well, because you got to answer the questions as well. But before we get into that, how was your day? Was your day good?
We completely avoided that question.
That's all good. I also forgot, which is fitting. I'm great. I'm still riding the high of the interview I did yesterday. So that went really well. That'll be an article coming out soon.
Fantastic.
I really want to plug where that's going to go, but I don't know if that fits naturally into this.
We can always do it at the end.
Yeah, true. It's going to be a while before that comes out, though. But yeah, I'd say that I'm good.
Okay, cool. I'll do the school thing first.
You lead as president. You go first.
Of course. So, in school, it was interesting. So, I think so in primary school, I think it was really obvious that I had it was an overactive imagination or whatever, right? So I think I essentially couldn't stop. I don't know if anyone remembers Beast Quest, those books. That was such a massive fixation for me. So Pacific Rim, those movies, anything about monsters and fighting them. And it got to the point where any single time I was asked to write something in primary school, I just ignored whatever it was and I just started talking about monsters.
You basically just commit copyright. That's what you do.
Nah, it was original stuff, all right? So I remember writing. No, we were given a project, a thing to write about 5 characters, I think, and then it was what do they? There was write an adventure that they go on or something like that. So I taught them about fighting some monster in the woods or something like that, and it was about I remember really, really specifically that the twist was going to be that there's some monster in some river, and then they can't fight it, so they build their own monster out of wood and tree sap and all stuff, and they also scare off the monster. And I thought that was sick. And then my parents got called in because that was the 8th and 9th time that I just completely started writing about whatever I wanted to talk about.
This is my original story, Pacific Rim. This is...
SK actually wrote Transformers.
Oh my days. He is Michael Bay.
It was either that or it was writing about Super Mario, because I had such a big fixation on Nintendo as well. So I always wrote about that. And yeah, so I remember my parents getting called in, and then I don't think I stopped even after that. I just started trying to find other ways to shoehorn my interest into whatever I was writing about, and I just completely ignored what the task was at hand. So it was kind of, that was a big thing for me. And then if I was supposed to write about, when it really came down to it, if I did have to write about something that I didn't care about, I would just drag it out. And then it got to the point was what we were talking about off mic, which was there was one point where me and my friend, we'd both been distracting each other, talking about stuff, and then we didn't get any of the work done. And then we were meant to stay in during playtime when everyone else went out. We got called in to keep doing the work, and then we still didn't do the work because we kept distracting each other. And then when everyone else came back from playtime, she made an announcement to everyone. So I asked so-and-so and Sahil to stay back because they still did do the work, and this is how much he managed to like my friend, this is how much he managed to get done, and Sahil got even less done. She shows it to everyone.
Just check, what age is this that this is happening?
This is like, it might be year 4 or
Is this
something.
woman still teaching? Surely you're not allowed to out.
I that's the thing. I did check the other day, and she still is employed at the primary school. So
I think it's odd, because if you did that now, we'd be pulled up on it. But we were kind of the generation where, like, these conditions of mental health were becoming more known. But like the early to 2010s, it was still acceptable.
Yeah.
Like, I remember in my school, teachers still told. Like, I went to an all-boys secondary school. We were told to shut up. We were told to be a man.
Oh yeah.
I remember once we had the head of pastoral care when I was, so the person in charge of actually student wellbeing. I remember someone below us, one of my mates' little brothers, their nan passed away, and the head of pastoral care said to her little brother, "Stop crying, it won't bring her back."
Yes.
And this woman was in charge of, if you went to her office crying, she used to give you detention for wasting her time. And she's in charge of wellbeing.
Oh, 100%. Jumping off of that, like, my secondary school's mental health support was abysmal, to the point where one of my friends was getting bullied by someone else I knew at the time, and like, it was really bad. Like, she was told multiple times to go kill herself and things like that. And she went to our pastoral leader, and he went to her with, like, it's not that big a deal. And then when my friend went with her and was like, "You're bad at your job," he to my friend went, "Well, she's not going to do it, is she?" Yeesh. And then my friend was Grace was kicked out because it was about my friend Sienna, and basically was like, Grace started pitching a fit because he's a useless man, and I think she, quote, said, "You need better pastoral training," as she was like forcibly removed from his office.
Wow.
But see, that's so, because we were of that generation, and now we're also of the generation where, I mean, Surrey is, again, we've said it before, the best uni in the country for student wellbeing.
Yeah.
To the point now, like, I've done a lot with the Wellbeing Centre, and I think I've told you before off camera, there was a thing where I had a wellbeing meeting and I missed it, so they put me on a watch list. That's how, like, course that, not that I was like that anyway, I purely slept in, and but they completely presumed I was on some scale.
Chances. It's better to be safe than sorry, even if it's safety on them bordering on, like, being annoying. Like, it's still better to do that.
I mean, if anything, Surrey goes, they're a bit overprotective.
Yeah. But I appreciate that. Like, it's definitely good to be in a uni that feels like they care.
You
like,
have that safety net.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that leads nicely. I was just gonna say, like, you can be honest, but do you feel that, like, you have been supported in your, like, various like moments of mental health at the uni?
Because I've used the wellbeing, what's it called?
Thrive Well,
that's it. I've also used the chaplaincy and even the Wellbeing Centre for a scatter of different things, not only for OCD, but also when I first came to uni, and you probably did have to fill out the form, but if you've lost a parent, when you go through student finance and apply for universities, you've got to fill out this whole different list, and you get put down as a bereaved student. And my mum had passed away just over a year before I came to uni, but I know other people who, like, lost, like, a stepdad or something when they were like 6 or 7, and even if, no matter how big the gap is, Surrey gives you this as if it happened the day before. They give you the same level of support. And they didn't know me yet. I'd been at Surrey for a week when I first met with them, and already there was a learning support agreement in place where I could get all these things if I needed them, or they wanted to know when the anniversary was, so they would just excuse me from lectures. They don't, it's weird, they kind of just act and ask questions later. They act on the presumption that everyone's in the same boat, and that works really well. Yeah,
because again, they could always backpedal it and go, "Oh, this person might not need quite as much."
Well, that's what happened to me. They kind of gave me everything, and then as I progressed at the end of every semester they kind of go, we noticed you've not used this, or we noticed you've used this a bit more, and they go, okay, so we're going to take this away from you and give you this. But that's not like I lost it. That was like we're going to try it for the next semester with you without it, and if you just feel you need it, you literally just email and they give it all back to you. I mean, you can't knock Surrey for the level of care and well-being they have to students.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
I think jumping in on that, I think the first semester of the first year was particularly difficult. For context, I'm in third year. Was particularly difficult for various reasons. I think it's on some level like it being a big change, and like as someone who doesn't cope with that particularly well, I think it was too much happening at once in various spheres, and I think I used the like one at a time through the Centre for Wellbeing, and I didn't get that much out of it. But I think it's partly because I hadn't like pursued the proper channels for it. But now I had my first meeting with Dominic, I think, through Thrivewell on Wednesday, and that was really useful, and we're meeting next week, and that's great, and I'm glad that I did it. So it's and that was a self-referral as well, so that was I think I really had to fight for it for a second because the link just didn't open, and I sent them an email. I was like, please.
That is Surrey's one downside. Links never work.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I mean, whether it's trying to get a membership, which we found for our site,
oh my god,
the email they send you. I mean, I've had so many things like, if you just click the link and I'll click it, and either nothing happens, or so I've had emails where it's not actually a hyperlink. They've just put the text in blue and underlined it, so it's not actually a link.
Yeah.
And then you go crazy. But I think the one thing Surrey doesn't do, weirdly, I mean, it's advertised so well, but they don't advertise all the channels.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So like, I remember when I lived on Manor Park in first year. Do you remember Duncan?
Yeah.
There was one of the old chaplains. He's left now. Duncan Myers. He used to get out free hot chocolates outside at Manor Park. I remember bumping into him, just got chatting to him, and then that's how I found the chaplaincy. And I thought, this is just not advertised, because the chaplaincy is, I think, purely a walk-in. You go to them, and same with Thrivewell. It was only when I started speaking with Liam, the former president of the USSU, that he was like, oh, have you ever used Thrivewell? And I was like, what is that? I only actually knew of the Wellbeing Centre, but there's, like you said, Thrivewell. I mean, I remember using their walk-in service. They've got so much where it's student reliant. I think that's good because it lets the student do the decision making, but at the same time, it's students don't always know they can do the decision making.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that, like, for anyone who might not know, there is also the welfare. Like there's a pop-up sort of thing that happens. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I think it's in like week 3 or week 4 of uni, where I forget where they do it specifically, but like on campus there'll be a thing where you can see all the stalls at once, and there'll be like a wellbeing week sort of dedicated to it. And I remember talking to someone about it, like on the union, and they were like, because week 3 and week 4 are kind of when it starts getting you like these homesick feeling, and this feeling of like, damn, like I really should start looking at, you know, like sort of support stuff. Like for me, the biggest one was Nightline. Like when you go to the stall for like a free pen or whatever, and then it's like, oh, actually, when
I should be taking care of my mental health.
Yeah, when I'm awake, like
plus
when I was
free pen.
Yeah. But when I was, I'd be up at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and it's like I can't go to sleep, or like my thoughts are racing, and I really like verbally processing different things. So like just having someone to talk to, or like, you know, the volunteer service as well, is really important. And on top of that, I've also, in my personal experience, I've also done the what is it? It's the like drop in one at a time. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like a block scheduling of like different counselling things, but like the sheer contrast between. Cause I didn't even get to secondary school. When I think about secondary school versus uni and the different ways it's been handled, I much prefer the way things were handled here. And even other simple things like extra time in exams. I always start off the exam being like, I don't need the extra time. By the end of it, I'm like, I'm so thankful.
I think that's so interesting what you said, because again, my secondary school, like it was everything was so unofficial. Like I had a scatter of teachers like you could go to, they give you their lunch, their free periods, and they'd talk to you, they'd email you. But it was so, they couldn't do anything. So you at my school, I never once felt I couldn't go talk to one of my favourite teachers. I remember having this my RE teacher, Miss A. Kelly, such a lovely woman. She was quite large. She had hair like Elvis. Do you know what I mean? She was just so bubbly, and she was a governor. She was head of 3 subjects. She was on the SLT, but because you were just going to her own lunchtime, nothing was through the system, so she couldn't actually give you anything. And it's like we said, Surrey, it's all so official.
Yeah, I mean,
every time I talk to one of these people at the Wellbeing Centre, I get sent a consent form or a waiver I have to sign.
Yeah.
And it instantly gets through the system. But like I said, secondary school, I felt so like I could talk to people, but I mean, Matt Tynes' teacher said to me, like, I know what's happening, but the school won't do anything.
Oh, definitely. It feels like it almost feels like the level of respect that you are given to kind of both to use the services to find what you might need, but also if you're going for a specific thing, like me going through Thrivewell at the moment for counselling, because there was like a specific event. I can go into it. It's not that bad. 2 weeks ago at this point, I accompanied one of my friends, like playing piano, in a seminar, and it went fine. Like, I made some mistakes, but I only had the piece for like less than a week. Like it went fine, but afterwards, the whole point of the seminar, and the thing I always neglect to mention when I tell this, is it's in the big studio in Pat's, and the entire class is sat in the stands watching everybody perform and watching the lecturer give the feedback. And so as she was giving the feedback, she didn't do anything wrong, and it wasn't even like she was mean or like stern in the way that she said it, but it was that because I find it very hard to pick things up in front of a group, and also I'm slow to pick up music sometimes. The things she asked me to do, I physically couldn't fulfill at that time, and so you kind of get in your own already anxious about having played the piece badly and thinking about the mistakes you made, and then being asked to lop on these things on top of it, and kind of that adding to it, and that made for like a difficult few days. But I was like, I'm gonna have another look at the resources. I was like, I'm gonna book an appointment with Thrivewell.
Oh man, I quit piano because my piano teacher got on my case so much. I was only like a couple of things in, and then it's like I was struggling so much with like attention wavering in when they were teaching things, and I was trying to like cover for it, and then trying to play something, and by the end of it, like I played it, and then by the end of it he said like, but why did it take you so long? And I was like, okay, that is my last session. That's like the last thing he said to me, and I was like, all right,
I've never been able to play an instrument in my life. I think I did recorders in year 2.
Recorders, ocarinas, it's all the standard stuff. But I think that's definitely something as well, because I feel like I don't think I've ever had bad teachers throughout my life, but I think it's that only now that I know myself a little bit more, and that I feel like I have a different relationship to the teachers I have now, and to the music I'm doing in general. I was not a good student throughout secondary school. Like, I'm doing a music degree. I was not a good I was not diligent in my practice. But now I know there's reasons for that. But now I think it's a lot more like, I feel like even for the pieces I don't enjoy, I can kind of like training like a dog to do a trick. I can coax myself into doing it by like,
it's just routine and rhythm.
Literally, I
understand that so well.
It's like there are sometimes where like playing some of the pieces that I'm doing at the moment, where I'm playing a different piece on the side that I'm just learning for myself, and I will use like the hit I get of enjoying that to ride me through the rest of the session, to practice the pieces I actually need to practice, and things like that.
This kind of also links back to what Esther said earlier about being in primary school. I was never able to do the creative subjects, so like English I just kind of scraped by. Music my mind was a waste of time, but things like I always loved history, because you couldn't get more organised. There was dates, there was names, there was events. Literally, this is what happened. Someone couldn't turn around and go, well, it's judged. Like, no, this is what happened.
Never thought about it like that.
So I was always really good at history, or I was really good at RE, which I know you can obviously speculate whether it happened or not, but it was like when you'd learn Christianity, well, the Bible says this. Do you know, or like the Torah, or even like philosophy, this is what is said, and you can argue it. But I remember like being in primary school, I remember so distinctly, we, like the textbooks, they listed the questions in columns of 5. So we go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And if I'd got like finished a column and I saw I only had enough time to do another 2 questions, I wouldn't start the next 2 questions because I wouldn't be able to finish the column. So I remember the teachers come up to me and be like, "Oh, Christy, you've got 10 minutes left. You can easily do questions 26, 27." And I was like, "No, I can't, because I have to do 30. I'd have to complete the column."
Yes.
So when you talk about like creative subjects, like I remember my music teacher always saying how freeing it was to learn an instrument, and I couldn't think of anything more worse. Like, where was the structure?
I think there's I want to briefly talk about some of that that's interesting, and then potentially get you to talk more about your experience with the OCD. But I think it's interesting with something like music because it's inherently, like, especially if you're a more classical musician or you're playing from a score, you're playing the most structured version. Like, the score itself is the most structured version of that piece of music that can exist. Like, there are things missing, but it's like, I can understand that it's like, in that way, conceptually, it's like it is exactly as it's written in some pieces of it, but also like so much of it is up to interpretation, and you have to make the decisions on the spot or while you're doing it to be able to get that. So I can see why being able to chunk it as as orderly as having like 5 blocks of questions and then just not touching the ones you can't round out and be complete makes sense. But I did also just want to ask about, like, since you have brought it up,
that was a proper like, SK look there. Christ.
Yeah, that was I was looking away, so I only saw a second of it, but that was like proper.
Jesus, sorry,
my
Jonah.
bad, I'll look away.
Go on.
Hey, we've got a window here. It's stuff's happening. I just wanted you to talk generally kind of about your experience with OCD, and then I've got a couple of other ways we can frame it if it needs some direction or anything.
So I was diagnosed with OCD when I was 15. Well, no, I kind of had speculation from 15, but I was 16. Purely because a girl I was dating at the time, actually we did my last relationship. Oh, that's a fun topic. That's another podcast coming out soon. I remember one day she said to me, she was like, you're just really weird. I was like, thanks. She went, no. And she kind of said there was some things I did, and she basically said, get a notebook and just write down these things. So I remember first time I stayed at her house, I kind of walked into a door and someone was going through the door, and I bumped a shoulder. So I stood there and bumped my other shoulder on the door, and she was like, that's something you should write down. Or I couldn't use non-matching cutlery. Or she always wore odd socks, so I used to buy her pairs of socks because it irritated me. And after about a week, I had a really weird list. Like, I'd wash my hands a certain time, the amount of, like, the way I showered, the way I did things, how we couldn't leave unless I'd followed a routine. And she said, I think you've got OCD. I was like, no, I'm just organised. I've always been organised. She went, no, you should go and get looked at. I was like, all right. So I went to a GP. The way OCD works is when you do like a questionnaire and you get ranked. So it's out of, I think, 210. And basically, if you're above 140, you have OCD. If you're above 160, you have clinical OCD. If you're above, I think, 180, it's crippling. And if you have 210, you basically get sectioned. That's how it works. So I was at 208. So I was 2 off men in white coats taking me away. And I thought, okay, that's not bad. And then I did something called cognitive behavioural therapy, where you basically pay someone to bully you. That's how it works. I remember the cruelest one was in your last session, they make you lick a shoe. And then when you do it, they show you a video of them basically opening a brand new pair of shoes, sanitising them. And the idea is you trick your brain into doing things. But it's weird, because I never really wanted a label, because I always thought if you had a label, you have something. So it's like, I think it was Descartes who said, I think, therefore I am. And I thought that kind of crippled me in a bit. But then having the label, actually, it answers so many questions. Because I remember, so I first got diagnosed with lockdown, which was probably one of the worst times to have a condition. I had it in symmetry and contamination. So everyone thinks that OCD is just being organised, it's being a neat freak, but symmetry has so much more to it. So symmetry is routine. So if I was going out at 1 p.m, I'd wake up at 6, because it would take me 3 hours to make the bed properly. I'd have to fold pyjamas in a certain way. If I hadn't prepped the night before, well, then I couldn't go out. And it gets to the point really where I'd just be so exhausted I'd fall asleep, or I wouldn't go out at all. then people also think contamination is things just like you're a bit of a germaphobe, which kind of yes and no. So when I first had it, I used to take 8 showers a day, to the point where as a teenage boy taking long showers, my mum just presumed I was up to no good. But it's more harmful bits to it, and this is where kind of you have to seek professional help. So I used to have really long rashes down my arms, my chest and my leg, because I don't know if you scrub 8 showers a day, 40 minutes a shower, that much, it just irritates your skin. And then that's when it becomes a dangerous thing. And then also washing your hands, I used to have real dry kind of crumpled hands, because if you put that much moisture on your hands, it ruins it. And it's kind of OCD I've always described as like having a... Do any of you have younger siblings?
I am the younger sibling, so
I have the younger sibling.
Well, that's weird, because I'm also the younger sibling. But I imagine if you had a younger sibling, it's kind of... I've got, for example, I've my half brother who's 6. He says why. So he says, "Why do you do this?" And you give him an answer. He goes, "Why? And that's what OCD's like. It's like a nagging little brother. It's, you know, you can't go out. You've not folded your t-shirt correctly. But why? And then it's kind of then that's when you get to the more dangerous parts of OCD, which is then the intrusive thoughts. If you don't do something bad's going to happen. I was kind of lucky in a sense. I know some people with OCD have intrusive thoughts of harming themselves or others. You know, if you don't make the bed correctly, your whole family's going to die, which are real thoughts. I never had them to that extent, but still invasive. And it's basically OCD is like having a bully in your head. And that's really how I'd describe it.
Yeah, I was going to go on to just going to say, like, we talked before about like the misconceptions of like contamination and symmetry. I was going to say, do you have any more of those kind of ways of referring to it that you have off the top of your head? I don't know if they're like categories that you would you can define in terms of under the larger umbrella of OCD, but are there any others than symmetry and contamination that
there are? So there OCD kind of doesn't just... It's a learning disorder, it's an anxiety disorder, because there's so many umbrellas to it. So I actually have OCD-induced... Well, I had OCD, which then developed into OCD-induced anxiety. So I was never an anxious person, loved an election, ran for everything. Do you know what I mean? Used my blazer was like... I don't know, like a military uniform.
Decorated,
Eco-council, prefect, senior prefect, school council.
Decorated.
Lead suck-up, do you know what I mean? Bumlick.
Chief bootlicker.
Yeah, all of it, do you know what I mean? But then I got OCD-induced anxiety, which is basically where if you have 2 scales, imagine that, and if your anxiety is really, really high, your OCD is really low. If your OCD is really, really high, you've given into all your compulsions, so anxiety is really low. And it's such weird things, you have to find a sweet spot. So you've got to be a bit OCD, so you're given some of your compulsions, and that itches the part of your brain. Well, okay, I'm a bit anxious today, but that's all right, we can work with it. Or you kind of have to pick and choose. And because there's so many umbrellas to it, when you go to cognitive behavioural therapy, it's not like there's a set structure. I mean, my first 5 sessions were finding out actually what form of OCD I had. So again, that can be organised contamination, symmetry. There's actually called compulsion, where you don't have any of it, but you have to give in to things.
Yeah.
So again, I was lucky because I could give in. I learned to not give in to my compulsions, where some people don't have a choice, and then that's compulsion links to intrusivity, where that's where you get the really dangerous thoughts, where you actually do have to kind of go into a hospital for a while and be monitored, because you become a real harm to yourself. And then that can also incredibly severe OCD can then also kind of link to psychosis. It's kind of like you're a passenger in your own body type thing. And that's when people
kind of stuff
start to self-harm or start to harm themselves or others, which I'm very fortunate I never got to that stage.
But yeah, no, I've known a few people with varying levels of OCD. Obviously, I'm not going to get into it into what it was specifically because they're not here. But generally, like various aspects of it, of kind of the general like ruminations and kind of being stuck with that that kind of unrelenting thought about some specific things that made going about like day-to-day life very difficult. And yeah, it definitely it definitely seems like a difficult thing to kind of be constantly going against that within your own head.
It's a bitch.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely sounds like it. It's I think that was too much. I think.
But I know you've also got another question on this, but that's also when it comes into it's not misconceptions, but I remember. Again, I've all kind of great. I went to an all boys school. People didn't do this, but I went to a mixed sixth form, and so that's when you have. We all know that type of girl. You know, oh, they straighten a pen. Oh, I'm so OCD.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that never really bothered me when I was younger. But as I got older and the effort I had to put into becoming normal, for lack of a better word, it bubbles you, like boils your blood a bit. Do you know what I mean? Because you kind of just want to turn around the mirror exam and go, you're not fucking OCD.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You like, just because you like to wear clothes that match, or because you've straightened your pens on your desk. That's not OCD.
I think I read an example about it that was like you're on a roller coaster and you're about to go for the drop, and you know that you are safely secured, and there is a 99.9% chance that you are safe, but it's that 0. The 0.
Just to let you know, we've just gone over 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Might have to speed through some of these other ones then.
We can always do it in 2 parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. The roller coaster, talking about like there's a 99.9% chance you're safe, but it's that 0.1% chance that sits with you more than anything else, and you cannot stop thinking about the tiny chance that balloons out.
So that is the intrusivity, and the part about intrusivity is it's not like you just think it. It's like someone's timed the thought. So when I do my routine, which was, you'd make the bed a certain way, you plant the pillows a certain way, then you'd kind of get dressed, or you've put you come back from the house, for example, you've put the clothes you're wearing on the bed, so now I've got to change all the bedding. But it's not like I do my whole routine, it's about 6 hours, and then just as I leave the door, that's when I get the thought, did you do this? Or you might have done that wrong. Right, back upstairs, check.
Yeah.
And then, leaving the house would take a good few hours, to the point where I think at one point I didn't leave the house about 3 weeks. And then that's when my mum was kind of like, something's wrong with you. And then my again, being the youngest of 4 siblings, my brothers were just like, he's just weird. Do you know what I mean? He's just a bit odd. And at that point I thought, yeah, I'm just a bit odd, a bit quirky, no pun intended. But it's that, and that's where I go back to kind of, I never wanted the label, because again, if you think you're something, you are it. Then also having the label helps, because it becomes the answer to the question. But you can't, you're taught in competitive therapy, you can't use it as an excuse. So you can't let it answer every question, because you've got to. There's something as well. Well, I know we'll move on in a minute, but they teach something. So it's called logic VU. So if you wash your hands after going for a piss, that's not OCD. That's hygiene. That's logic. If you drop a knife on the floor when you're buttering toast and you get a new one, that's not OCD. That's logic. But then it's, if you won't go to someone's house because you think they're a certain way, well, that's OCD.
Yeah.
If you get out the shower and you step on the bath mat and it's a bit damp, so you have another whole shower, that's OCD.
Yeah.
And it's kind of splitting the two.
Yeah, it's a response to something that someone neurotypical would go, this isn't a big deal, to something that gets blown up into the biggest, well, not necessarily the biggest, but like a much bigger response to it. Then could be, like you were saying about the contamination, that you have to do it again, even after you have one thing that to someone else could be okay.
It's not a choice. It's not like, oh, I'll come back and do it later.
Yeah.
Because your day stops. It's like someone presses pause.
Yeah.
And then that's when it comes into it's like OCD having like a bully. You're a passenger in your own mind.
Yeah.
I think we've gone through everything that I had written for the no, it was just like, you just, like, without me even having to like say anything extra, you've gone through everything.
We should upload this in 2 parts: OCD and then ADHD.
We'll leave this as part 1 because we suddenly realised that we have way more to talk about than we originally planned.
I don't think there was that much to OCD, to be honest.
To be honest, looking at this question list, like, even as I was writing them, I was like, this is too many.
I'm enjoying this, though.
Oh, no.
Well, we all have more time.
Yeah, we all have more time.
So we can speak with Vale and then continue.
We'll
take a break and we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
We'll see you in part 2.
Yeah, we'll see you in part 2, and we can probably talk about ADHD.